Okay, evening everyone. I think everything is up and running. Is the sound okay? Can you hear me good? Let's start. This is the latest tournament I went to. It was called Fantasia Fanatic number 42. Evening everyone. And this was last weekend, I think. It was a 5-game tournament, around 100 players. I think it was 98 in the end that was contesting. And I went 5-0. And the main thing for winning was battle points. So we were, I think, 1, 2, 3 guys with 5-0, but I won on points, getting 98 points out of 100 because of the 20-0 system they used up there. Can you see my cursor here? Yeah, now it shows. If you've seen any of my videos before, I always start out with going through the list shortly and taking questions there, and then I will move on down to the actual tournament and go through it of the games and my secondaries. So let's get into it. My HQs haven't done anything changed from last tournament. I kept my librarian cheap as possible, with Performic Resonance and Fortified with Contempt. 2 great spells, I always use them. I never go for Psychic Interrogation because the buffs are so insanely good using them. So I wouldn't switch out that for a secondary that is easily denied. So I wouldn't recommend doing that. I have been toying around with getting points to upgrade him to a better Psyker and maybe bring 1 more spells, and then I would bring the one maybe called Shadow something, where you can put it on a unit and it can't be touched, so you can have something standing on the backfield, safe in your deployment zone on an objective and can't be shot at, which could be great in some missions. Second HQ is my primary chaplain on bike. He has the upgrade, so you roll your litanies on 2+. Not getting that and throwing them on 3+ is too big a chance, so I wouldn't play him with the 3-up. I would always go for the 2-up. Then I go for the optimized priority aura, and that is because in Nephilim now there are so many action-based secondaries as well as progressive options, and playing an elite army with very few units, especially like I played, I don't combat squad at all, so few units, and you want them all to be able to hurt your enemy and at the same time do all those actions you need to do. So therefore I've been playing optimized priority most of the seasons since Nephilim started, and I wouldn't leave home without it because it's so important for the army. I use the Recitation of Focus, Canticle of Hate, and Litany of Hate. Depending on who I'm facing and what I'm gonna do that turn, and even how I roll might affect the game. But if I have planned to do a charge, of course I want a 2+ extra, and I want to reroll all attacks in melee. So I go for those 2 if I'm doing a big charge with both my teams. If I don't need the extra movement, let's say the opponent has moved forward, they're standing in the midfield, and I don't need the extra 2-inch or the 3-inch pile-in consolidate, I would go for +1 in shooting, put it on one of my big shooting teams so they can make havoc, and then reroll all hits in melee. And then use the Chapter Master reroll on the shooting team maybe. So depending on how my army is positioned, how the opponent is positioned, I toy around with the different litanies from the chaplain. Finally, Watchmaster. I played him all this season. He's great. He has a 2-up save. He has some cool stratagems when you're playing knights. And of course he brings full rerolls, which can be great, both in the melee teams if you miss the aura, or in the shooting teams. And also when he's standing somewhere, everyone within 6 just touching, reroll once. And he also brings the chapter, the relic, Tomb of Ectoclades, which was insanely good during this tournament. I will come to why during the games, but as you all know, or if you're a new player, the Tomb of Ectoclades, you choose one datasheet, and then the whole army, or everything that is within 6-inch aura, every unit, will reroll all wounds until the next command phase. So remember that, until the next command phase, because this also applies in melee, all shooting, and also in the combat phase when your opponent is hitting you. If you're still within the aura of 6-inch, you're re-rolling all the wounds until your next command phase, which is great. That about the HQs. I got a question about bringing transports. I love transports, and the Army of the Renown allows it, but due to I want to be able to punch so hard and have my 5 kill teams, I actually don't have the room. I love the models, like this, the Corvus Blackstar is one of my favorite models. I played it before in, I don't think, last year maybe, with a melee team that I flew up. And also Rhinus I've been using before. I love them as well. It's easy. But right now, as I'm playing it, the 2 Indomitable teams can't go into a transport, so I don't use them for them. And my 2 melee teams that are moving forward, they can't go into transport either, because the bike counts as 3 and the 2 jump pack counts as 2. So I had to remake a team or combat squad to be able to use the transport. And the Spectres team is combat squadded but can't go into it because it's primaries as well. That about the transports. Otherwise, I think them are cool, but in this army I'm playing right now, they don't work. As you all know, or if you're a new player to Deathwatch, everything we bring is troops, and therefore everything is OBSEC. So in this army you have 50 bodies OBSEC, only excluding your HQs, which is great, into most games, most opponents. Except for knights, because they also have a lot of OBSEC. But as you will see, we kill knights easily. First Indomitable kill team consists of 5 heavy intercessors with the rapid fire version with AP1 in base. Come to why I picked that. And also 5 assault intercessors with assault bolters. All these guys have strength 5. Altogether, they shoot 40 shots at base. And they have AP2 minimum. Why I picked that in this team is because Armor of Contempt is so strong, and we also have a lot of opponents with a 2-up save. When you have AP2, when you choose tactical for these, then you can actually hurt Armor of Contempt or enemies with a 2-up save. And the goal is actually always to just bring them up to a 4-up. If you bring them further, it's great. But the goal is to bring someone up to a 4-up, because 40 shots, maybe you will get a 40 wounds or 35. Having a 4-up save, then you average around 20 wounds at least, which is a lot. Into Marines, or maybe Tyranids with a 2-up. So that's why this team has that kind of composition. So this team is great into harder enemies with a 2-up save or Armor of Contempt. And when we're shooting a lot of bolt, that round we will be in Imperial Fist, so we will ignore in cover. And also get those exploding 6s, which gets more shots. And when re-rolling all wounds with Tomb of Ectoclades, there are gonna be a lot of bolt shots from this army. And this team is also fast, because you have these 5 models moving 10. So you can string out these guys, touch an objective, and because you have the aura on your chaplain on bike, you can raise a banner and you can shoot with the team. So these jump packs bring more. Maybe you want to do a charge up to the objective and steal it. Move these guys up. You can advance, not advance because this has rapid fire, but these guys have assault weapons. But you can move quite a lot if you string them out. You put 2 guys, then 1, 2 guys, and then the rest comes. So you can get quite far with this team, just moving. And when you're deploying, maybe in a ruin which has several floors, you can actually squeeze in the models, because these guys can go on the second floor, because they fly and negate the vertical movement. So these guys goes on the bottom, these goes on the second floor, and if they are hidden, you can squeeze more models into that ruin, so you don't get exposed during turn 1 and lose any models. Second team, also Indomitor. I've been playing around with these guys, making different compositions. For my last tournament, I went with also the Ballstorm aggressors. This is because they have better range, mostly, and you have these extra shots as well, these 6 grenades. The 2 Inceptors for the extra range, some extra shots, and also you get the fall back and shoot. The reason I have 2 is because I don't have the 5 extra points to squeeze 1 more aggressor in. If I can find 5 extra points, I probably would take 4 aggressors in this team. I only need 1 to be able to squeeze out, because these 2 guys can't reach any further. I need 3 to get extra movement. 1 is enough to get the movement I get right now. So I would rather take the D6 extra shots from the aggressor and have some more melee in this punch team. This team has the heavy intercessors with the assault version, which shoot 3 shots with AP0, because the rest of the guys are shooting AP0. So this one is better into maybe knights or elves or anything that doesn't have armor contempt, or just a 3-up save going up to 4-up. Because this one produces so much more shots. You have in base, these guys have 30 plus 15, so you're up to 45 plus 3d6. So a lot of shots, less AP. But doesn't, depending on your opponent, you will have quite a lot of shots from these, making Geofaran, yeah, you might be right actually. They lose the unit doesn't gain the fly keyword, but I don't know what actually goes for the model. I haven't thought about it, because they have jump pack, they can still do the fall back and shoot due to jump pack. So maybe they can't go the vertical free. You might be right. Might be playing that wrong, but still they have the 10-inch move. So going down, going forward, you can still move out from the ruin if you want to be able to use the cover. But you might be totally right, because the unit won't have the fly keyword, and therefore the model shouldn't have the fly keyword either. So maybe they don't ignore the vertical. Have to look into it. Glad to see what the other guys in the chat think about it. So 2 Indomitors, and as you see, I pick Aquila on both of these, because then you can choose 2 data sheets where you reroll your ones against. And also, if you want to use the Specialist Extremist during the game, most of the times it's one of these guys you want to use it with, because of the number of shots you can put out. Then I go to my 2 melee teams. I got 2 Proteus kill teams. So, looking at the chat, most agree with the fly keyword is still on the model. You can't use it to charge a aircraft, for instance, but move vertical for free. Going back to the list, I made some changes, not to this team, but to my second melee team for this tournament. I have 2 Proteus kill teams, and they are consistent build of 1 big part with the damage part, which is this half, and then this part that is just casualties moving forward. The bike, together with 2 jump packs, can string out, so you get the long movement. You put the bike in front, 2 inch behind, you have 2 jump packs within 2, and then the last jump pack, and then the rest of the unit comes around. I've discarded all my Terminators, they're too slow, and I wanted the extra speed and the extra damage. So being able to bring 3 heavy Thunderhammers to this team makes so insane much more damage than having just a Terminator standing in cover. Because in most games you tend to stay in cover until you want to unleash the guys. So you actually don't need a Terminator. If you're just standing in the open, you're gonna get shot and the Terminator will take some more wounds, but I actually prefer more damage. They do so much more. I kept the Dominatus on this one because still there are a lot of elites out there and I liked being able. 3 Storm Shields. Some have asked why I have 3 Storm Shield. There are a lot of guys out there with high AP playing against maybe Tyranids, Tau and other faction. Necrons also have a lot of AP on the menhirs of the king. So being able to take a 4-up invulnerable on those heavy guns make it so much resilient. And also when you're being shot with AP 0 and standing in cover, you can actually use the guy with the Storm Shield to have a very good saving throw, because you can ignore Armor of Contempt and just use his 2-up save going down to a 1-up in cover. And against an AP 0, you're only losing on 5s. Ones, I mean. Yeah, I agree, because on many targets with a good invulnerable save, just 10 heavy thunder hammers, as Mr. Jam is commenting, wasn't enough, I thought, either. So having these 3 guys on their own producing 9, and then you have the 4 from the sergeant, that's insane. And also you get more movability, because now you have 1 extra Vanvet stringing out in the middle, so this is more mobile. And moving forward to my second melee team, I did the same change. I didn't have the points to get 1 extra heavy thunderhammer in, but I brought 1 extra Vanvet just for the mobility and the speed. So this guy is just bringing a claw and a chainsword. A claw just because I had the spare points, but not enough to bring a heavy thunderhammer. But both teams are now more flexible and more speed, and it's easy to get into your targets. I brought the Malleus on this one instead, because there are a lot of Lord of Wars and dedicated transports. Last tournament I faced off 2 times against Harlequins, going like 8 transports and 8 troops. So I was really missing having Malleus on one team then. So that's the biggest change I made from the last tournament, Games of Westeros, to this Fantasia Fanatic. I think maybe I played it like this. I went to a small RTT, a big RTT, it was 42 players 2 weeks ago. I think I played this list as well. It was also a great tournament. Played a lot of nights that time as well, and went 3-0, taking first place at that RTT as well. My last team, still my Spectre skill team. I bring 5 last fossils because you can. They're free and they do a lot of damage into knights or terminators or anything. So they do a lot of. Yeah, I run a Spectres. I come into that now. The Spectres is so great playing the mission. With the forward deploy, being able to be quite aggressive in some matchups when you're picking banners or crippled stronghold, being out there waiting until you know the roll off. Am I going first? Can I keep the guys out here? And if you're going second, you just squeeze them back into your deployment or out into reserves for free, because you paid for the Lord of the Seat stratagem and put it on the sergeant. That tips I actually got from some of you guys in the chat, I think, early before, because I used to run a Phobos Librarian with their Lord of the Seat, Warlord trait, and someone told me, you make the sergeant bring it. It's so great, because sometimes this 3-wound model makes 1 extra shot, takes 1 more extra hit. So it's great. And as I seen in the games now, when you're putting one of these teams in cover and maybe popping smoke, people have a hard time shifting, especially this part where we have also the Helix Gauntlet taking up the first damage. They are insanely resilient, and people maybe start shooting, and then when they've used up a few meltas or a lot of shots, they switch to another team, and then they split their fire, and nothing dies actually. So the army is still standing there after the knight has finished his shooting. So great for playing missions, great for mobility, they are so resilient, and into some matchups these guys actually do some great damage as well. Yeah, if I hadn't gone for the Malleus, I would have been... If I brought 2 Dominatus, because the Malleus is so much more expensive, I could have brought 1 extra heavy thunder hammer. And that might be the case, that is better, because they are still wounding many on 2s and 3s. So maybe having those 3 extra attacks are better if you're not playing someone with some big piece Lord of War or a lot of enemy transports. Having full rerolls to wound is also insanely good, and you will have that during 1 turn for whole your army with the Tomb of Hectoclades, and can you squeeze that in when you're moving up with your kill teams? Yeah, it might be better to have those 1 extra hammer in that team as well. I guess you drop 1 element. Yeah, exactly. As the picture shows, this is how I combat squad them. So I have the sergeant together with 3 infiltrators and 1 last fusil in 1 half. These guys, especially, most often are standing on the cripple stronghold button if I play that one, and otherwise they will be in the backfield holding my backfield objective, while these guys are used for damage as well as holding a button, and that is split with the Helix Gauntlet and 4 last fusils. If I had extra points, I would bring 1 more heavy thunderhammer before bringing an extra aggressor. I tend to not fight as often with the aggressors as I do with the melee teams, and the shots is just 1d6 extra. Yeah, that could be losing 1 of these. Just bringing 1 Incursor maybe instead to this team would free up even more points. Might try that next tournament. Just losing this last fusil, bringing 4 with the Helix Gauntlet, have an Incursor here, and then switch out the Claw, and then you have 1 extra hammer. Great tips. Okay, that was the list, and a lot of chat. Thank you for that, and it's been very fun to have more interaction today, and a great tip for making adjustments to the list. During Fantasia North, Fantasia Fanatic 42, they used a 20-0 system. Yeah, they are great when they get into combat, and having those 3 aggressors punching 12 attacks with a lot of AP and damage too, they do surprise the enemy with their punch, and having 1 extra would be great. But I think I would prioritize having 1 of my melee teams have 1 extra hammer, because they are designated arrows to go out and kill something in the melee phase, and the aggressors are extra punch, and I tend to save them for the last when I'm picking casualties from that team, just because I want to be able to have that punch in the end. The Fantasia Fanatic used the 20-0 system, and this is it's quite hard because they also play not win, draw, loss as the primary winning condition. So in this tournament it was points who was the first winning condition, meaning you need actually to crush your enemy to win this tournament. You had to bring out your A game and actually go hard into your enemy, because you need to win with 50 battle points to be able to score 20-0. It doesn't actually matters so much winning, or you have to win to get 20-0, but the win draw losses, when that isn't the primary thing, you actually have to have so much high points. In Game of Westeros they also used the 20-0 system, but it was win draw loss, and I played more defensively and didn't score as high as I did here because I played a more backfield game because I just needed to win the games, and I finished third here, if I don't remember wrong, going 4 wins and 1 draw. During this tournament I knew I had to go out hard, and you couldn't like try to submarine getting easier opponents, because if you try that you lose 1 point in the beginning, you might be falling off in the end. So I had to go for 20-0 in all my games, and that was my aim for the tournament. First matchup, Death and Seal, I went against Orcs. This guy played his first tournament, so it was a very... it does benefit the higher risk, higher reward, especially when the first winning condition was battle points. Playing 20-0 and just win draw loss is great, because some armies doesn't score so high. So if you win all your games, but you don't get like 90 points in all the games, it's more even because everyone is playing on the same scoring sheet. But during this tournament it was hard. Everyone is going for like alpha striking and killing your enemy. Death and Seal is quite a good map for us. We have short distance to our enemy, and as long as we can hide your army, you have quite a small deployment. So playing Long Vigil here is quite easy. It's hard for your enemy to get into your deployment, because you can screen your backfield with just one Spectre skill team standing like here, and then you have most green, and then squeeze in everything here in cover, and the enemy actually can't get into your deploy because they die if they do. So I like this map a lot. During this one you have the direct assault as your progressive, so you need to kill an enemy on an objective or take a new objective that you didn't control the last turn, or if you do both you get 3 extra points. So you know you're gonna score quite high on the primary, because you only need actually to hold these 2 buttons and kill something on the middle to get quite a high score. So you can play quite defensively, starting off maybe you're shooting your last fusiles on this one and the rest of the army here, playing banners. Long Vigil, you have 2 secure, you know you're gonna score 15 on Long Vigil, and banners at least a 10, and most of the games more, because when you're rolling up the enemy in the end you can raise some extra banners for the last turn. And then for the last one you need a kill one. This one was against Orc, so I actually could have played Suffer Not the Alien, but this guy played a mech list, so we had a lot of vehicles. So bring it down, I think I could score maybe 22 points against this army if I table him. So I went with bring it down for an easy 15. As I said, it was his first tournament, so we played a very casual game. We used the clock so we could train, and I gave him a lot of tips and tricks playing the game. I needed to win with 20-0, but I wanted it to be a fun game for him as well, and it was a fun game. We had a great game. I won quite big. I tabled him in turn 3, I think, but still it was an enjoyable game, and the score was 20-0 to me. Second game, then you were paired against someone else that had won the first game 20-0, so I met a more experienced player. This one was on the Recovered Relics map, and still it's a lot of objectives near your deployment, and you only need to hold 1 for getting 4 points. So this map is extremely easy for us. Sure, it's quite a big deploy, but with the 2 Spectres just screening out so they can't deep strike in, and if you're playing against someone who can't deep strike, then you're in a better position. But as you can see, there are 3 easy banners as well. You can just move up, turn 1, raise 3 banners and just hold them together with Long Vigil. You have 30 points on your secondary straight off the back, and you're gonna get an easy 40 on the primary as well. And the progressive one is you score 1 for every enemy unit. So you're gonna kill the enemy because you're gonna bring something that is a kill secondary. So I took grind because I didn't have so any good one. I faced off demons. It was the only demon list in the tournament. It was Nurgle demons, and he had quite few units. And on I think on Titan Hunters, I don't think he had so many demons, big greater ones, so I could go for that one. But I thought I'm gonna play it for grind because most of the turns I will be killing more than he did, and it turned out to be right. He went first and played very aggressively, moving his entire army up to the midfield. And I told him before the game, during when we went through the list, that we have a crazy punch. And when he was deploying everything in the middle of the board, I also told him I can do quite an aggressive punch to you if you deploy like this. But he wanted to, because he played Tyranids the last game and they couldn't break his demons. So we went with that, and after he deployed all his greater demons in the middle of the field and moved up, I just peeked out with the entire army. I think I went with Imperial Fist round 1, because he was demons. He didn't have a lot of shooting. I knew he was going to move forward, but not with the entire army. So I went with Imperial Fist to have extra shots. And turn 1, I just moved up my Watchmaster quite in the center. I stringed out both my melee teams so they were able to just move up, being able to charge maybe 4-inch charges to his big demons, and string back some guys so they can use the Tomb of Ectoclades. And I don't remember the name of it, but he had two very big demons. A Soul Grinder, maybe they're called. They have like 16 or 18 wounds, toughness 9 when they're Nurgle. And then I popped the Tomb of Ectoclades against those. And then I shot with my both Indon teams and all the bolters from the melee teams. And after I done that, I charged him with my army. And I think I killed maybe 3 of his most important demons, 1 HQ and a lot of small things in turn 1. His counterpunch in turn 2 whiffed, and after turn 2 he conceded, and we would just score up the points because I almost tabled him turn 2. He had like 1 squad of Pox Nurglings standing over here, which I deleted in round 3, and then it was game. So this one was also a crush, 97-40, because I couldn't do grind. I actually saved 1 unit for turn 4, so I could do grind in turn 4. But after I tabled him in turn 4, I didn't have any enemies left, so I couldn't do grind last round. So I lost 3 points, but still won the game with over 50 points, so it was a 20-0 in this game as well. And the secondaries, as I told you, Long Vigil is always great if you're not facing a very, very fast army like Harlequins. Then you can't go with Long Vigil. But otherwise, Long Vigil is so great. And this map is extremely good for banners, having 3 from the beginning, giving you out of 15. And then you just need to kill 1. And in this one, where you need to kill 1 unit, grind is great. But it depends on the opponent you're facing off. But it was fun, facing new demons. I was quite nervous because I never played demons before. I played a demons monster match before, but that was the old codex, and that game I lost actually. Okay, last game for day 1, facing off against Tyranids. And when I look at the list, I see he has 2 very big bricks with warriors, and that is great for us. Most enemies will hate that list because the warrior bricks in Leviathan are so hard to kill for everyone except Deathwatch. So I knew I had a good game into his list, so I wasn't especially nervous. But he didn't have that many wounds, and he didn't have that many units. So actually I didn't go for prisoners, I didn't go for suffer not alien, I went with grind, because I knew he was gonna need to go forward to score his secondaries. I didn't know which one he's gonna pick, but Tyranids don't have so many great picks right now. I knew he was gonna go for prisoners, because it's good into me. Most of them go for psychic interrogation. So he needs to be offensive, and when he's being offensive I can just pick off units and play my defensive game, because I'm going again with long vigil and banners, because I can. We have a big deployment here, he can't easily get into it. I can easily start with 2 banners, and maybe if it's going well, get 1 extra in the end. And he has to come to me, otherwise I'm just standing there, scoring 40 on the primary, getting 10 on banners, 15 on long vigil, and he needs to score. For this one, when I deployed, I put all my HQs on the back line, because I knew I was going to play quite a defensive game in the beginning, because I knew he's going for psychic interrogation. I can zero him out on that one, and he needs to move forward. He actually went with cranial feasting, and that is the Tyranids one where you get points if you kill a sergeant in melee, which is very hard, but it generates CP on 6s if they actually do that. But it's so easy, because if they shoot you, you just take the sergeant out of the squad the first round, and then he can't score except for your HQs. So it's not a good secondary, and he scored 1 point. The game went like I played defensively. He moved up a big brick of warriors to the center. He actually moved the second brick of warriors out here, and then I actually went out with one of my shooting teams here and shot the back one of the board, and I charged into the middle with one of my melee teams, killing the second one. And now he didn't have so much obsec or punch left. Of course he had the Reaper of Obliterax Hive Tyrant, and he flew out and charged this team, killing I think 6 models on the charge. But was left hanging there in the middle of the field, getting killed next round. He also had a Shard Gullet Tyranid walking, shooting hard shots, and he had Tyrant's Guard hidden in a ruin here, so I couldn't touch it. He had 2 Exocrines standing down here shooting in the into the battle, which I charged with the second melee team up here, swung up, took his objective, and killed the Termagants holding that one. But it was my hardest game, actually. He scored the highest point, he got 50, because I played quite defensively, and he got 3 turns with full primary. He didn't score so well in the secondary, but he killed some units. I think it was 82 wounds, getting 9 on that one, which is great against us. So this was actually an 18-2 game, so not a 20-0. But after day 1, I think I was in the lead, just ahead of some of the night players, who also scored great during day 1. So, finishing up the first day, going back to the hotel, I was looking, and in the top there was a lot of knights, great players. We had the former VTC captain Daniel Hesselberg with his strong knight army, which I played before. But it didn't look like we were gonna meet each other, which was a bit sad, because I actually wanted to play him. But I was faced up against an Imperial Knight, the Free Blade Lance, with a lot of armigers, and I think they bring 1 big model and 10 small. And we were playing Abandoned Sanctuaries, and that is the map where you can't forward deploy your Spectre skill teams. The 3 objectives in the middle are quite far, so you can't actually move out turn 1. A melee team can, or the big Indomitor with the flyers can. But it's hard to do banners on this mission, because you only have 1 that is safe. So in this mission I actually like Crippled Stronghold. Yes, it will force me to play a more aggressive game, but it will reward me playing that offensive game, because it will score higher than banners will do. So it goes like this: it's your opponent picking, whichever he picks, you need to be there. So I often start my 2 melee teams like here and here, so I can easily attack on both sides. I have one big shooting team in the middle, and the other one can be hidden somewhere because you can use that beacon on Angelus to just beacon up. And then you screen your backfield with the corners with your Spectres team to just keep them out. Going for Long Vigil again, it's so far for them to fly over, so that will be an auto 15 in this game as well. And then Cripple Stronghold, because it's the same distance out, everything is in the open. It's better than banners in this in all matchups, I think, because we have a lot of obstacle and we have so much firepower, and you actually can do the action after you move up on the objective. And he don't want to be where I have my entire army, because he's gonna die then. And the last one against Knights, it will be bring it down, because you need to kill him, and you're gonna get 15 on that one. I went first this game, and I just advanced up. He chose this one, so I advanced one of my Spectre skill team up on this button, forgetting that you can't advance and do the action. So it was a fail for me, because I deployed it here, got a nice like 6 or 5 roll on the advance and got him into cover and was very happy. And then I was doing the action, he reminded me, you can't do actions when you advance, and of course I can't. So I didn't do the Cripple Stronghold the round 1, but I thought, okay, I will do it the 4 other rounds and I will get 15 anyhow. So he was thinking about how he's gonna get them off and trying to move off. He deployed all his knights here in cover, because he was afraid I was gonna alpha punch him so hard he would lose his army. So everything I did turn 1 was I moved up into every ruin, getting a great position, hiding the whole army, and advancing this team into here, and then I just flipped the button over to his turn, because I don't need to punch him round 1 on things that are standing far in the back. I don't play the trading game so well when I don't have great targets. So if he just have maybe 1 or 2 knights standing here, which I can reach, of course, but I don't want to kill 1 or 2 knights and getting exposed. So I rather want him, because he needs, like all knights, they go to the center. They have this, they have renew something, it's called, and honor and yield no ground. And actually they need to try to get over the battlefield. They need to be in the center. They can't fall back. So they need to move to the center. So just chilling out the first turn when you go first, just generate extra CP. So when you actually attack, you can give them a lot of punch. So my entire army was hidden. He couldn't see anything. He moved out, trying to push the button in the middle for his extra secondary points. And now he was exposed. Now knights were standing here. He had his big knights over here, some small knights over here. And suddenly I have a lot of targets. So my second turn, now I get exposed. Now I bring both my Indomitable kill teams out here. I get my what it's called, Watchmaster here with the Beacon Angelis. I move 1 kill team, melee team up here, because he had 2 knights standing on the bottom here, and 1 I keep hidden here for later game. And the last fusils was up here in the ruin, string down, so they also can benefit from the Watchmaster tomb. So now I shoot with the entire army, and I choose the datasheet. He has 2. I think it's Helverines or Warglaives, and the Warglaives are the one with the Melta and the Chainsword that actually punch hard in melee. So I go for the Warglaives, because many of them have also a trans hitman in melee. So I actually want to shoot them, because in melee I can only hit them on 4 up. So I pick out the targets that is easy to pick off in shooting, so I can kill the rest in melee. And then using Tomb, and also this one, I knew I could hide the army, so I'm going for Imperial Fist. Round 1 I didn't take anything, because I knew I was going to just hide the army. Maybe I went with the Raven, the one which you get extra cover and dents from, because I thought if you get an angle, he will have -1 to hit. But the second battle round I went with the Imperial Fist, because I wanted those extra hits from the Exploding Sixes when you're rolling with Tomb of Ectoclades. So you get so much hits. And putting the Recitation of Focus on one of the kill teams, the one with the extra shots, and now they're hitting on 2s. And when you're fishing for 6s, yeah, it's so great. So actually, I think I killed maybe 3, 1 in shooting and 2 in melee, so 5 of his small knights round 1, which was enough crippling damage, so he couldn't do so much damage on the return in his second turn. And he tried to punch back. He killed off my first melee team, the melee team I sent up here. Actually, I think I consolidated up on this objective and touched one of his shooting knights, and then his big knight charged it and killed right off the back 10 of them in one charge. He had a melee focused errant, I think, with the chainsaw that does extra mortals on 6s, so I think he straight off killed on the first hit. He had 20 attacks. On the 10 first, I think almost the entire squad was dead because of 6 extra mortals. So that one punched very much harder than I thought. But then I just kept pushing the board, standing here pushing the button, and he couldn't get into my deployment. And then it was an easy 100 full score again, because he never get close to my deployment. He never can start to interact with the button, and I'm just pushing him back, killing off the knights, and standing on all the objectives in the end. So as you can see, he didn't score anything after turn 2 because I was all swarmed the board, so he couldn't get any points. So in the end it was 70-point win, so a 20-0 in this one, taking me to the final game, also against an Imperial Knights. Imperial Knights are strong right now. They're strong into a lot of armies because they have so much power, having obsec everywhere and being good at killing things. They also get a lot of 20-0. They have a lot of alpha punch if you can't hide your army. But we actually can hide our army quite good. You don't need that much terrain. And I think I can show you some of the terrain here. Let me just just gonna switch around, be right back. This was the terrain. If you look at the game, I was playing on the top side, and you can see there are two great big ruins here, containers, some craters, small high ruins here on the corners, and one L-shaped here with a closed bottom floor. And you have the deployment like this. So in your deploy you actually have you have the big ruin here and the small L ruin here, and then this one small over here as well. So quite a lot of cover to actually hide your army in. He was just trying to see if I could hide my army. So he actually deployed quite aggressively because he wanted to be able to punch me. He had talked a lot with the knight player before the game before, and got the tip that you need to push your enemy to be able to kill the Deathwatch player, otherwise you will be overwhelmed with the alpha punch that Deathwatch can actually do. The stream was on Twitch. I think on the Deathwatch forum under media, I think I posted a link to the games from Twitch. You just jump up, it's a 7-hour long stream, but you jump to the final game and you will have this game. I will jump forward to maybe the deployment. As you can see, I deploy behind the L ruin. I have one of the shooting teams, I think the one with all the aggressors, and then one melee team behind. In here I have one Spectres with Lass standing on the 3rd floor up here, and then the melee team here in the front and the shooting team in the back, and the second half of the Spectre skill team is here because I wanted them to be able to go up here and go for... I think I deployed the both Spectre kill team here from the beginning because I didn't know who was going first, and then he went first on roll off, and then I moved back into cover here because it's in my deploy, and I moved this team up here on this floor, because if I went first on this, I did show you in the beginning, going back like this, as you can see here, I took no, actually you can't see. Yes, you should be able to see. I went with not with cripple, I went with banners again, because you have an easy banner on your home objective and easy to go out and control maybe 3 objectives if you take one flank. So you're gonna score high on banners. And long vigil, of course, because they won't be able to get into your deploy, and then again against night, bring it down. He went first, and I'm gonna move forward. You can see what he did turn 1. So this is what he did turn 1. He moved up the entire army. This guy on the right flank, I hope you can see my cursor right now, put advance and charge, because he's want to charge this guy over here. So he auto-advanced them. So he went very far, getting an easy charge. Get one up here, standing here. So he's trying to take control of the entire board, which is great against many armies, but not against the Deathwatch army, because believe it or not, we do so insane a lot of damage into knights, because they don't have armor contempt, and most of their small knights will be having a 3-up save, going up to maybe a 5-up or a 4-up. And shooting with the entire Deathwatch army, shooting all the bolter rounds and your last fusils with full rerolls to wound against half the army, because the half of the army will be Warglaves or Hellmarines. You're gonna do so much damage, because most of the shots are wounding on 5-up, rerolling everything, and you're gonna hit a lot. And in this game he went first, so I knew I could hide my entire army. So also this game I went with Imperial Fist round 1, because I knew he's gonna get exposed and you're gonna shoot a lot. So Imperial Fist round 1. And now you see he gets the charge in here, and he actually kills maybe 1 or 2 models from the Spectres team, which doesn't cost me that much. But the hardest thing right now, he's in my deploy, so he's actually gonna deny me long vigil if I can't kill it before round 2. And I thought I was gonna kill it in round 1, but I killed him in his round 2 later on. Just move up and see my actual... this is me after starting shooting. So what I did was I moved out this Indomitor kill team here. So 4 guys are standing on the 2nd floor. They just jumped up, and then the aggressors and scepters went out. Here is the Watchmaster. This last fusil gang on the 2nd floor, 1 floor down here, is the Helix Gauntlet guy within 6 from the Watchmaster. So these guys are getting reroll on wounds on everything. This melee team coming out here, going for this one, moved normal move, so they are also shooting all their bolters. This is the Inceptor Indomitor kill team, also within 6. So everyone here is rerolling everything to wound against Warglaves, and they're rerolling ones to shoot. Here is the 2nd melee team going up here to charge these 2 knights. They are re-rolling all wounds because they also made a normal move out here, and are within 6 with the back guy standing here. And then the 2nd Indom team and the Chaplain on bike. So right now, everything except these guys who was charged, they made a fallback move here, and they just missed the objective. I was just out of it, so I couldn't get up there this turn either, which was too bad. But so the entire army, except for 3 guys from the Spectres team, is now shooting everything, they're rerolling once because they're standing close to the Watchmaster, and they're rerolling all hits to wounds against, I picked Warglaves, the guys with the Melta and the Chainsword. And Exploding Sixes, one of the Indom teams, I think this one got full rerolls to hit, and hitting on 2s. So in the end, I think during my turn 1, it took a lot of time. And in the beginning, he was saving like a god, so I got very nervous. I thought, oh shit, this is not going good. I got my whole army exposed, and he's actually gonna survive this. But then he started to fail saves, and then very fast knights were dying. So been shooting. One exploded here, doing mortals to his 2 friends as well, which was a bit of a relief. And I think I shot off, now with the charge phases. So I shot away these 3, and I knew I was gonna kill these 2 in melee, which is 5, and I thought I was gonna kill this one with the charge as well. So I thought I was gonna kill 6, but he actually managed to save this one. He had a 4-up invul on this one. So this one actually survived during turn 1, but died during his turn 2 when I got my my possibility to beat back. And then going into his turn 2, I think here's his turn 2. The battlefield looks like this. So he now has 3 small knights, 1 back here, the big knight, and this guy. So his counterpunch right now won't be able to hurt our army, because it's too few units. Yes, he can pick off some wounds on this one, but still, he needs to handle this melee team. He needs to handle this melee team. And we're gonna do too much damage. Too much crippling damage, so he won't be able to recover from this. If you want to watch the full game, go to the Twitch. It's called Fantasia. The site is called Fantasia North. And the actual competition is Fantasia Fanatic XLII, standing for 42 in Roman letters. So going back to the score sheet, as you can see, I win this game also with 100 points, full points, against 37, going 20-0 in this game as well. So knights, now I played quite a lot of games into knights, knowing that we actually do so much damage against them, so I'm not as nervous anymore playing them, because if we just have great terrain and we can hide up, they actually have to play a very different game to win, because they need to play defensive as a knight player. They need to just send out 1 small knight at a time to the middle to push the button, and then make us come to them and make a mistake. Then they can roll us up. But most knight players haven't played Deathwatch before. They don't know the damage output we have, so they're gonna play their game, going very offensively, spreading out over the entire board. And then they feel our wrath. That was it for this night's stream. It was 5 games, very fun games. I got, as I said in the beginning, 98 points out of 100, winning on points in this one, also going 5-0, which was great. So it actually was my best result this year. It was my first grand tournament win. I had some wins on a smaller grand tournament, GT, and also in some RTTs. But this was my biggest win and got me quite a lot of ITC points as well. I actually wanted to go to London for this weekend, but I couldn't find accommodations and flight tickets that actually was able to make it. But I watched some of your guys' games there, and I hope you had a great event. I think it must have been great, such a big event. Quite jealous of you guys who made it there. Maybe next year. What buffs for you? Yeah. It's quite hard actually, because I know many of you might have watched the Auspex Tactics and the Art of War stream where they're ranking us very low I think Auspex Tactics ranked us like F tier, and Art of War ranked us as C tier. And actually, I don't think our army is that bad. I actually think we are quite a great army. We have so much punch into most enemies. The hardest one, actually, I think is maybe Thousand Suns, who has a lot of Armor of Contempt, a lot of Terminators that are hard to wound with shooting. They put out so much mortal wounds, which can hurt us very much. So, as it is right now, this army is very strong into many opponents. We have a great secondary games. So, it's hard to just pick out some marine data sheets and try to buff them up. I think what will happen is they're gonna make some maybe like vehicles core again, so more Marines will use the vehicles. We can't do that because we're playing Army of Renown for the most competitive game, just for Deathwatch. Otherwise, I don't think they're gonna bring so much more, maybe point drops. So I think for 4 Marines in the next balance, they will buff up the vehicles and they will maybe give some discount on points. So I don't think it's gonna affect the actual Army of Renown for Deathwatch so much. But I don't think we're in that much need as well, because it is a great army right now as it is. And I would love to keep Army of Renown. Maybe they can repost the rules in White Dwarf in the beginning of next year, so we can actually get keeping it if the Octarius book goes away on January 1st, as it is of now. Which is very sad, because I wanted to go to maybe a super major next year and bring this Army of Renown and see what it can do at a super major. Now when I got so much practice with it, I actually think I would have had quite a good chance of scoring high. But I won't know, because it won't be there, so I have to look at something else. Any other questions right now? Everyone on the Discord, you know me as Mikael KLA. You can just send me a note there as well if you want to ask something that I didn't take up during the stream. I got some questions before, and I tried to tell you during the games. We do so much damage, so it's almost only important what chapter you choose for maybe turn 1, 2, and 3. And most of the games, if I know I'm gonna be hiding all my army, if I go first, and I know I'm not gonna get exposed, I'm not gonna try to kill anything, I will not waste anything during round 1. I will just maybe go for a Raven Guard, or what they call keeping extra cover, getting dense if they're far away. And then on my first round, I most of the time go with Imperial Fist, because I want to pop the Tomb of Ectoclades, saving up the points and going maybe Specialism Extremis in round 3. Then it's maybe usually a combat one, maybe White Scars for advance and charge, but during that turn they are often so close, maybe you go with Blood Angels, getting +1 to wound on your big heavy Thunderhammers. So that's my most common picks. I go for Imperial Fist quite often, I go for Blood Angels or White Scars, and into T-Suns and Tyranids. If I'm playing a defensive game and they have a lot of mortal wound spams, I might be going for Black Templars or Warden 2 rounds to get some saves. If I'm working on a non-AOR list, yes I am, because we need to get prepared for losing this AOR. And the things I'm gonna miss the most is actually the flexibility with choosing that chapter every round. I won't miss Specialism Extremis that much, because I'm getting so used now playing with the Tomb of Ectoclades, doing more damage with that one, when you know how to position the whole army to get benefit from it turn 1. Don't forget your Deathwatch bolters that you can choose get damage to, or extra AP. It's so insanely good having those 4 bolters and the bike in those 2 melee teams. Those shots count as well, especially with the Tomb of Ectoclades popping off. But non-AOR list, yeah, I'm looking at different setups. I'm not too happy right now which I'm going for, but we need to play the secondary game good. So I don't think I'm gonna go for vehicles. I think I'm gonna go for something like this army right now, maybe more combat oriented, because you're gonna force the army to come to you. You want to pop that Tomb of Ectoclades, and then you want to charge the army. So you won't be playing Specialism Extremists, and you won't have advance and charge. So still quick melee teams, maybe double Spectres with last few seals for extra shots. But I will sure tell you when I have a suggestion or where to go for the non-AOR. Or maybe they will do something to let us have the AOR next year. We don't know yet, but most likely not. Thank you all for listening. Okay, if there were not any more questions, I'm going to try to round it up and say thank you for tonight, everyone. Stay strong out there, and see you all in the chat. Thanks for tonight.